It's Friday, November 4th, and this is a SPY kind of a morning update. It's just about an hour and a half into trading. So you can see here on the daily chart so far, what we have here is a little bit of a green bar forming to start the session. I'll show you in a second. Price started down a little bit, but couldn't quite get to the halfway point of the prior bar. We've come up a little bit, and now we're kind of in this gap area that, again, I was talking about. You got to be pretty suspect of in terms of really getting strong follow through, and we might get a failure up in here. But until we really break down and start kind of attacking this intraday low, we'll just stick with the upside, even though you can be aggressive, and I'll show you in a second, maybe trying to play a failure to see if that develops. So what developed here in terms of the 15-minute chart, and I'll show you the way I kind of played it with regard to some other stocks. You did have right out of the gates a big red bar forming to start, although you can see here we never really followed through. But when you saw that big red bar, and there were a bunch of stocks that were also moving pretty strongly down, there was an opportunity to try, to get short and just see if you would follow through, immediately past the midpoint of the prior day, which we didn't do. So that was the aggressive play. Other than that, it was more just, if you look at the chart here, you're above the midpoint of the prior day and you're heading up on a 2-up kind of day. So you can look at this as a red to green move to kind of buy up in here, especially taking out the midway point of the first bar on the 15-minute chart to look to take out those highs. So that's what's developed in here, and that's why we're heading up. Now, if you get the failure in here, which we almost are developing right here, a little pause bar, right? Can't really break too much above that first bar high, and then we get a 2 down bar. That could be a very aggressive to sell to see if you take out kind of the halfway point of this first bar, and then maybe move towards the intraday lows and set up a whole chain reaction on to set up that failure day that we were looking for in that area. Again, it's just something where you're starting to anticipate these various scenarios unfolding and playing it with very small risk. So let's say this becomes the 2 down bar right in here. I could see trying to go short in here and then being very nimble. You want it to come down and follow through and get past the midpoint of that first bar to then start attacking this bar. And if you don't get that now, if all of a sudden we pause in here and start higher, you immediately get right out. So that's what I see developing. It's all going according to plan, the way I described in the pre-market video, where you could have a little bit move up into this gap area and then potentially fail. So that's what's developing here, and we'll just see how that unfolds. But you don't have to kind of stick to that, in terms of being 100% sure that it's going to happen, but you can take a chance here and see if we get the follow through on the 15-minute chart to confirm. If we can just get down into the lower end of this range, then that could confirm that we really might be taking out those lows today and setting up, like I said, on the weekly chart, kind of a big red bar to the downside, which should follow through into next week. We'll see what happens. But anyway, in terms of how the market, I took advantage of it just looking at individual stocks. On this Apple, I showed a video how I bought puts here right out of the gate before the 15-minute bar even closed, because I saw how weak it was, and I was able to scale out a no-risk trade, and now it's coming down again. So it's a definitely nice gain on Apple. And on the upside, when I saw them, the SPY kind of moving to the upside, Moderna presented a great red to green move in line with what was developing, because that price action had targets up here, and it had a pre-market high that hadn't been taken out yet. So I was able to buy here and set up a no-risk trade here, and so far, we're starting to head up to that upper. We're still heading up there. So either way, either we make it up there, or it's just a small gain on that trade. So in other words, there are definitely ways to play the SPY market with the individual stocks, knowing the scenario in play. But again, we came down quickly, didn't really take out the midpoint of the first bar, and that was the sign that at the moment, we haven't quite failed. But I think this type of thing right here, it'll be interesting to see if this becomes a failure with strong continuation to the downside, or if we just kind of consolidate and maybe try to make another push up on the day. But that's what's developing so far. Again, I'm still expecting the failure, so we'll just see if that unfolds by the end of the day.